Hopefully I'm annoying you as much as 10 years ago, or more.
You sound pretty angry.
No, this is the voice of American business that is being channeled through me. I am the most publicly supportive CEO of Israel.
We're still on camera.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well great. That's true. And I'll tell you, we're off camera now.
No, we're still going.
That was Palantir's CEO. Okay, that's Alex Karp. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with Alex Karp. But it turns out that some of Palantir's investors who have decided to now short Palantir stock have seen Alex Karp as a bit of a liability. And honestly, I think they're probably right about that. He gives people the ick, as the kids like to say. So let's get to the details here, because in a pretty extensive FT Financial Times report, they went out of their way to speak to 20 current and former Palantir employees, executives, investors, and also advisors. And here's what they found. Almost all supporters and critics of Palantir alike agreed on one thing. Some of the company's woes are self-inflicted. And believe it or not, the company is suffering from some woes. And we'll get into that in just a minute. Now, keep in mind that people like us, actually, we the people, the American people, happen to be Palantir's largest funders. You might be wondering, how is that possible? Well, the US Department of Defense has granted Palantir a total of $10 billion worth of government contracts. So there's that. Also, in the 12-month period following Trump's return to office, its revenue from federal contracts soared to nearly $2.2 billion, a 65% increase on the previous year. The company's commercial business revenue more than doubled year on year. So, they were doing real well in the very beginning of Trump's second term. However, something did change. In the US, Palantir is now so radioactive that Democratic candidates have felt compelled to sell even small stakes in the group and return donations from those associated with it. Across Europe, doors once open to Palantir in London, Paris, or Zurich have been slammed firmly shut. And I love that. That is basically what you're seeing is governments reacting or responding to people who find Alex Karp repulsive, Palantir's entire mission repulsive. They don't like the surveillance. They don't like the data gathering. And there's a bit of a revolt beginning to percolate. And I don't want to oversell it because I don't personally think it's where it needs to be. But this could be the beginning of something beautiful. So Palantir, like public opinion toward Palantir, has been declining for some time now. And it's shown in how much value the company actually lost in the stock market this year. So remember, Trump comes in and their stock soars. They're doing really well. But then suddenly you start seeing this pretty significant dip. So let's put this graph up on the screen so you can understand what I'm talking about here. So as the FT writes, Palantir's stock skyrocketed in the first year of Trump's second term. In fact, several Palantir employees went into the Trump administration, including Gregory Barbacia, who became the chief information officer for the entire federal government in January of 2025. But as you can see at the, more recent reading of the stock prices or value, it lost nearly a quarter of its value so far this year because investors have been short selling Palantir stock. They believe that the company is overvalued. They think the company is vulnerable to increased competition from other AI companies that are, they're starting to poach employees from Palantir. And they're also worried that, these AI companies actually do serve as better competition to Palantir. So in other words, analysts are saying short the stock, and you're seeing that actually be carried out by investors shorting the stock. So everyone hates Palantir, and here's why, okay? So Palantir has provided fodder for fears of mass surveillance in the AI age. They brag about it, in fact. They've become a major defense contractor that's closely tied to the genocide in Gaza. People are not happy about that. And Palantir collaborates with both local and federal law enforcement, sometimes to a very ghoulish and invasive degree, where Americans feel that they're being indiscriminately surveilled and stalked by our government or law enforcement agencies. And the company even emphasizes its connections to the CIA. Like, ain't nobody gonna like you when you're cozying up with a bunch of spooks, right? And so, take, for example, I'm gonna give you one specific example that's actually outlined in this FT piece. I mean, you gotta have like a modicum of concern about your public relations, but not Palantir. They can't help themselves. So after Renee Good was shot and killed by ICE officials as she was in her car attempting to flee, Palantir decided to put out a video, which was particularly disgusting, almost like celebrating that a mother of three who was protesting mass deportations or protesting, militarized federal agents on the streets of Minneapolis, like she did, like deserve to get killed. It was disgusting. So what did they do? Palantir's head of strategic engagement posted on social media an AI generated video set to a music track called Clubbed to Death. It featured the logo of the company in the midst of a cultist circle alongside images of the Grim Reaper, a blood-soaked crucifix, all-seeing eyes, and the mysterious slogan, "Recon is watching you." That's not conducive to getting people to like your company and want to support it. Like who would think that was a good idea? But they did it, right? So Palantir essentially is positioning itself as an adversary to the American people while receiving the bulk of its funding from the American people, thanks to our corrupt government. That's what's happening right now. By the way, Palantir, Peter Thiel, who's a co-founder of Palantir, created JD Vance in a petri dish, and that's an important thing to remember as he gets sold by the Republican establishment as an anti-interventionist, super modern conservative, super cool modern conservative, right? Anyway, the head of strategic engagement at Palantir is a man by the name of Eliano Yonis, and he's insane. When one person on Reddit complained that the January video had 1984 vibes, he responded, "We don't care." I guess we should celebrate the fact that he didn't say that was the point, because that seems to have been the point. And apparently some of the employees totally freaked out after that video was posted online. The company had an absolute internal meltdown, recalls one former employee who watched the dispute erupt on an internal messaging platform. You had people being like, my customer is a children's hospital. How am I supposed to explain this to them? But it seems Palantir's culture is pretty set. So I'll give you another example. Joe Lonsdale, who's that? A Palantir co-founder turned MAGA mega donor who hosts fundraisers for Vice President JD Vance, relevant, called for the return of public hangings and suggested the company was founded to fight commies. Okay, can you imagine seeing everything that's going on right now with our government, with the undue influence Israel has over our government, and genuinely think that the real threat right now is commies? Why? Because a few socialists got elected in New York? Like, that ain't gonna happen in pretty much any other part of the country. Maybe California, maybe. But that's still a big maybe. Like, commies, that's what you're worried about? Okay. But these people love Israel. They love the Israelification of our military because they benefit from it. They profit off of it. And it looks like some employees have been fleeing, which is probably speaking to the fears that investors have, which is why they're shorting Palantir stock. And I love it. So basically the group, Palantir essentially, which declared worldwide staff of 4,429 in December of 2025, has lost more than 6 experienced engineers to the likes of Anthropic and OpenAI over the past year. And then you have Palantir's psychotic chief executive. You think we weren't going to fixate on Alex Karp a little? Well, we're going to fixate. Of course we are. If you're unfamiliar with Alex Karp, get to know him. Take a look.
So the primary source of death in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will.
Using that excuse, this is why you don't get left to speak, because you are killing my people and you're justifying it because of Hamas or anyone else.
Can we get security up there?
Your AI and your technology from Palantir kills Palestinians.
Mostly terrorists, that's true.
Most of the people who have been slaughtered by the Israeli Defense Forces in Gaza, with the use of Palantir technology, by the way, have been civilians. Considering the fact that half the population, more than half the population in Gaza was under the age of 18 at the start of the genocide, gives you a sense that, a lot of kids got killed. But Alex Karp thinks they're all terrorists. Yeah, he's making money off of it. So why are you complaining? This is great. Let's just pretend like the kids are terrorists and they deserve to get slaughtered. Those toddlers, they deserve to get bullets in their heads by IDF snipers. They deserved it, right? Piece of crap. Anyway, so he has boasted that Palantir tools kill people. He has republished a manifesto that calls for Silicon Valley technologists, as he calls it, to be deployed in the fight against urban crime. Now, let me just be clear about something. I think when crime spikes, it is a problem and it should be taken seriously. I don't want companies like Palantir to sell their mass surveillance BS to either state, local, or federal governments. Because clearly what it ends up doing is basically punishing everyone in said community indiscriminately with mass surveillance, mass data gathering. If you haven't committed a crime, why should you get sucked into this weird, mass surveillance dystopian world that they're trying to build because they profit off of it? That's insane. On top of that, executives have even warned that their CEO Alex Karp's 2025 book, The Technological Republic, which accused American allies of self-righteousness, would complicate its growth strategy in Europe and deepen the company's dependency on the US. Karp began boasting that Palantir's tools were used to kill enemies. The Wall Street told Wall Street analysts who tried to screw the company they deserve to be sprayed with light fentanyl-laced urine, and declared the truly progressive position on immigration to be extreme skepticism. So these tactics have led to consequences for Palantir, and I just hope that Alex Karp keeps talking. Just keep talking. Please, keep going to these conferences, keep running your mouth. July 1st, he had a lengthy interview on CNBC where he sounded like a lunatic. It was great. I actually really appreciate it. So more of that, please. Now, the real question is, will Palantir ever deal with any regulations, any oversight by Congress? And the cutest thing in the world is that the FT, which I believe is a publication based in the UK, is cute enough to believe that once the Democrats get elected, oh yeah, all of a sudden there's a cop on the beat. It's hilarious and delusional. Why do I say that? Well, because federal records show a majority of donations, over $200 made by US employees of Palantir in 2024, went to Democrats, as in previous election cycles. Karp himself donated to Joe Biden's campaign, and in 2024, he said he was voting against Trump. They don't care about political party. They will buy you, okay? Or at least attempt to buy you. And a lot of our politicians are not at all principled people. They'll take the money and they will do as they're told. So yeah, are Democrats gonna hold Palantir accountable? They might do some kabuki theater with their congressional hearings, but will they actually do anything? Of course not. The company is apparently bracing for a reckoning anyway, though. In the past few months, it has quietly hired several Democratic-aligned lobbyists. including a former Democratic Senator, Mark Begich, in anticipation of being hauled on to Capitol Hill if Republicans are forced to hand over the gavel. That's assuming, the Democrats take control of the House after the midterms. But I think it's so cute that Palantir is like, oh, well, we got to be prepared just in case. We got to be prepared for the kabuki theater that we're going to engage in with these hearings, which will amount to nothing. I expect we'll be spending a lot of time with our right hands in the air, says one Palantir advisor, referring to oaths sworn before congressional committees. But again, the hearings are one thing. It's an opportunity for these politicians to perform and give you the illusion of governance. What comes afterward? And we all know nothing. Nothing comes afterward.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.